Well, the Emir of Qatar, as I mentioned, Tamim bin Hamad Al-Thani, has been one of those addressing the UN General Assembly. And he says Israel's conduct in Gaza and its approach to Qatar's mediation efforts is unacceptable.
They visit our country and plot to attack it. They negotiate with delegations and plot to assassinate the members of the negotiation teams. It is difficult to cooperate with such a mentality, which does not respect the most minimum standards of cooperation. It is impossible. Is this not the definition of a rogue government? They consider negotiations a continuation of war and other means, and a way to delude the Israeli public opinion. If the release of Israeli hostages is the end of the war, the government of Israel is abandoning the notion of releasing the hostages. Their goal is to destroy Gaza so that it is unlivable, where no one can study or receive treatment. In other words, end the viability of the Gaza Strip, to displace its population. Therefore, the Israeli leader wants to continue war. He believes in what is called Greater Israel. He believes that war is an opportunity to expand settlements and change the status quo in holy sites.
Well, here's a look at some of Qatar's mediation initiatives. Qatar hosted, as we know, the Taliban and US government representatives for several rounds of negotiations that led to the withdrawal of US and NATO forces from Afghanistan in 2021. In July this year, Qatar negotiated a preliminary peace deal between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwandan-backed M23 rebels. It promised to end the fighting in the eastern DRC and committed the parties to a comprehensive peace agreement. Since late 2024, Qatar brokered a series of humanitarian exchanges between Russia and Ukraine to reunite children separated from their families by the war. And Qatar helped to broker the Gaza ceasefire between Hamas and Israel in January. It led to the release of more than 100 captives and allowed humanitarian aid into the Strip. Well, let's get more on the speech by Qatar's Emir at the UN General Assembly. We can go to Hashim Ahl-Bara, who's at the United Nations for us. And Hashim, the theme of concern, Hashim, that this region could be descending into the law of the jungle is one that we've heard expressed by a number of world leaders from this part of the world, right?
Indeed, Sammy, and this explains the strong words that we've heard from the King of Jordan and the Emir of Qatar. There is a great deal of concern about the potential for instability and violence if there's no end to the war in Gaza. It's quite fascinating the way Gaza has been dominating the agenda since yesterday with the unprecedented wave of diplomatic recognitions, and then today where we are expecting this meeting at the Security Council followed by Trump meeting with Arab and Muslim leaders about exactly his vision for how to move forward and what can he offer to those leaders about the potential for an immediate end to the war of Gaza. I'm being joined now by Mr. Majed Al-Ansari, who is the advisor to the Prime Minister of Qatar and also spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. We've heard that statement from the Emir of Qatar. You cannot be willing to want peace at the same time you are bombing us and bombing a key negotiator with whom you're hoping to be able to achieve a peace deal. Qatar seems to be pretty much angry and frustrated.
I mean, any country that has its sovereignty violated in this way with an egregious attack on its people in a residential neighborhood during the time when it was conducting painstaking negotiations for more than 2 years to bring peace to the people of Gaza, free Palestinian prisoners, but also bring hostages back to their families. 148 of these hostages were reunited with their families as a result of Qatar, including Israelis, of course, as a result of Qatari mediation. And therefore, I think it's to say that we are angry is an understatement. We are working with all our partners around the world to make it very clear that this attack on our sovereignty will not go unanswered, that accountability, or the lack of accountability that the world has been dealing with Netanyahu through must end, and that this is a red line among 100 other red lines that Netanyahu has already crossed, but it goes beyond everything that he has done so far.
A crucial meeting is going to happen any time now between Trump and Arab and Muslim leaders. Qatar will be attending that meeting. It's going to be about Gaza and potentially the Americans offering a vision about ending the war and what happens next. Is there any concern among the Qataris who have been instrumentally mediating a deal that it would be almost too late to put together a settlement now?
There is never a point where Qatar was not a believer in peace. We have to keep hope. We have to keep working to end this war in every way possible, pressuring the Israeli government and Netanyahu to accept a deal is a very important step in this. And we've been engaging very closely with the Trump administration over that issue from day one, even before they came into the White House. The last ceasefire was brokered through working together with the Trump administration. So the meeting that will be co-hosted today by Qatar and the United States will offer a lot of frank discussions over how to end this war. It will offer a new hope of producing plans that can come up with a final resolution. And of course, we all understand that Prime Minister Netanyahu has made it very difficult for any deal to take place, but it is now time for the whole world to stand in solidarity against his actions and dragging Israel to be a rogue and pariah state in the region, and bring him back to the fold when it comes to diplomatic resolution to this war.
It's been almost 18 months since the start of the intense negotiations to bring about a settlement. Qatar and Egypt, very important mediators. What would bring the war in Gaza to an end? Is it the immediate end of the offensive? Can the Americans be the decisive factor here?
Well, right now, the only obstacle to peace is Prime Minister Netanyahu and his agenda. We need to work together with all our partners around the world to reverse that agenda, to put pressure on the Israeli government, and to produce the solutions that are comprehensive solutions for the region as a whole. The attacks against sovereignty in the region have went unchecked, including 7 countries that have been attacked by Prime Minister Netanyahu and his government. And these attacks, if left unchecked like this, will drag the region through a period of instability that cannot be imagined. And therefore, we need to work together to make sure that it stops.
Majed Al-Ansari, thank you very much indeed. I really appreciate your time. Thank you. Sami, interesting times here at the United Nations headquarters, where leaders are looking forward to see what happens, and they are pretty much, as I said earlier, anxious at what could happen next, and they're hoping that the Trump administration will be using its geopolitical leverage to try to put pressure on the Israeli government to end the war. They're concerned if that doesn't happen, it could just drag the entire region into a further cycle of violence, death, and instability.
And that's Hashim Al-Bara for us outside the United Nations.
Don't miss out, get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news and expert insights. Like, share, stay ahead.